Okay, we're live, Michael. Fingers crossed I managed to do it. So hopefully we're going live on our media as well. So guys, welcome to the Just for Keepers podcast, obviously where we interview current and ex-professional goalkeepers. Today we're very lucky, especially on a Saturday, he's spending time out of a Saturday to help us, obviously, with everything goalkeeping. So I'd like to introduce Michael Johnstone to the Just for Keepers podcast. Michael, how are you?
Hi, mate. Yeah, I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, fantastic, Michael. Again, I want to say a massive thank you for coming on, especially on a Saturday morning. Honestly, you probably won't realise this, Michael, but you're going to help so many goalkeepers within our network, especially the younger goalkeepers, and also parents of goalkeepers as well. Who are trying to help their goalkeeping child. So on behalf of the whole J4K Just for Keepers community, Michael, I want to say a massive thank you. And also as well, we are live, so fingers crossed. This time, if there's anyone obviously listening live, please ask your questions for Michael. And if I can read, so I'm looking over here now, if I can read your questions, I will ask Michael as your questions come in. So a bit about Michael, okay? So So Michael, you currently play for St Albans City. Is that correct? Is it St Albans City? Sorry, if I got that right.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, City on the end. Yeah.
Sorry, for some reason I thought it was Town. Sorry, and that's in the National League South, and your home stadium is in St Albans, Hertfordshire. Also, you played for some of the clubs that Michael's played for. It's been Hitchin Town, Braintree. But Michael, so obviously, so people can get to know who you are. If you don't mind, if you can just tell the viewers and the listeners a bit about yourself, but more importantly, if you can, your journey. So where when you started, where you started playing in goal and your journey until you where you are now, obviously playing professionally for St Albans. So I'm going to leave it over to you now, Michael. So the screen is now yours.
Thank you. Of course. So my journey's not as long as some people's that start in goal. I didn't start until I was 14. Funnily enough, it was a school game in Watford, and no one wanted to play in goal. And I was selected by the coach. I think it was just because I had probably the biggest kick in the team. So in I went. And just being a natural competitor and wanting to win and kind of just being good at most sports growing up, I did all right. And the referee just happened to be a scout from Luton, who at the time were in the championship. It's full circle now, but yeah, they was in championship, and he invited me to go and train with them. And I worked with a guy called Roger Spicer, who I think went to Arsenal after that. And if I'm honest, I absolutely hated it. It was a sandy Astro right by Luton Airport.
Okay,
Obviously, about goalkeeping, and they probably didn't even know that. So they were teaching me W's and cup shapes, and meanwhile, the under 18 goalkeepers that I'm training with as well, even though I'm 14 at the time, obviously are there primarily to go be goalkeepers, and I'm there absolutely drowning, not knowing what's going on. And yeah, walked away from that. I think it was about 2 months I was there. Just didn't want to do it. Went home, said I just don't want to play in goal. And a few pep talks with mum and dad and other family members kind of swayed me back round, and I went back into it. And only played local. I've never been in an academy. Never been in that sort of setup. So I played for loads of teams in the district around here. And a lot of my learning and understanding goalkeeping come from me going out of my way in my spare time to watch videos on YouTube and listen and watch the people talk about techniques and everything, really. And that's how I really became a goalkeeper. That's where most of my techniques have come. In terms of my actual in-play style, I'd say that my role model growing up was Pepe Reina, being a Liverpool fan.
Okay.
So I kind of like him. I think I based my game around someone like him. That done me a favour growing up because I think one of the standout things I had was distribution. And obviously having time played on pitch as well, the sort of passes that you don't see as a goalkeeper, you can see as an Liverpool player, and dropping into goal, I still see that sort of passing mind is still there. Yeah, as I ramble on, so I was locally.
Oh, please ramble on. Please ramble on. Honestly, it's super interested, and that was the point I was trying to make in the intro. Because while you're playing in goal, you just think, yeah, I'm playing in goal. But honestly, what you're saying will resonate and help so many goalkeepers and parents of goalkeepers. So honestly, ramble on, Michael, because you won't realise how many people that you'll be helping.
Thank you. So yeah, as we were saying, playing locally, and then I got picked up by a local academy, not a pro one. I think it was Stevenage, but they weren't full-time pro academy at the time. And I was there for a year. Again, I still didn't enjoy it. This was now 15, 16. Weren't enjoying myself. So
I was actually
come out of there, went back.
I was actually going to come to this at the ends, but I'm going to jump in now if it's okay, Michael, because you've said that on 2 clubs that you were with that you sort of didn't enjoy. Was that because of the coaching that you were getting, or the people involved, or obviously? I know that you mentioned like the AstroTurf at Luton Town. If it was anything like I think it was at Preston North End used to have one as well, and ours the most. And it's actually not AstroTurf. It's concrete painted green, isn't it? And then you're expected to dive top corner. I mean, that's how how goalkeeping was so misunderstood back then. Or even now to a degree. But you mentioned obviously you didn't really like it. So I'm sorry to butt in. Was that because of the people or the facilities, or was it a bit of both?
I'd say it's a mixture, and it wasn't just them. It was me. It was me. Probably in my heart, being a young kid, not fully accepting that my future was going to be in goal. Some people they wake up and the first time they play football, it's in goal and they love it and it's for them, and not realise, I think, which I realised quite young after these 2 incidents, is that not everyone's journey is the same, and it's a bit of perseverance and just sticking to it. And I knew I enjoyed it, but I just needed to be in the right environment. At Luton, although I'm sure like Roger was a great coach, he had a lot of pedigree and his name was out there. How he personally handled me being a goalkeeper that had never played, for me probably wasn't right. It wasn't very. Didn't feel like it was very caring. And I think when you're young, especially in a position such as goalkeeper, where it's a lot of mental strength that will be needed, and it's really tough mentally to play in goal. And it just needed a bit more care, I thought, which you didn't really get back in the day. There wasn't a lot of care, and to an extent, there isn't that now. Yeah, there wasn't. It really wasn't. And if you were mentally weak, you were never going to make it. And maybe I was a little bit.
You'll probably relate to this. You probably relate to this, Michael. The motivational talk when especially children. Most children are naturally underconfident, and a lot of coaches don't realise this, or they do realise this, and they don't. Maybe they don't care. But like the motivation, I'm sure you've got this type of motivation. When you're probably underconfident as a goalkeeper, the motivation that you would have got from the coaches is probably either man up or you're out the team, which is no good. You can't. Especially for young children. I'm talking like 14, 15, 16. I mean, even underconfidence affects adult goalkeepers, so never mind teenagers. And I think they need to be. It's getting better. And again, first of all, apologies for interrupting again, but it's such an important point what you've made, because there's so many young goalkeepers. They think because they're underconfident, well, I must be weak. But what they don't realise is, one, they're not weak. It's only natural. And then what they don't realise as well is that probably 95% of their teammates are nervous and scared as well, but that's where you do need good coaches to come in and nurture players. And a lot of coaches just think it's about what they do on the field, how to develop them as a goalkeeper or a player, which is still important. But honestly, I've been doing this for so many years now, Michael, and I'm still gobsmacked how many coaches still don't work on this to help their goalkeeper or their player develop their mindsets. Because you could be the best technical player or goalkeeper on the field, but if you're not helped up here, you're gonna, like you say, it's hard. You're struggling, and as I say, so again, I'm so glad you mentioned that, because you know, the message that I want to get across on the back of what you've just said to anyone listening, yeah, look, you're not a weakling by being obviously nervous and scared. It's only natural, but you do need someone to help you grow your confidence. So I just wanted to, as I say, to do apologise for jumping in again there, Michael, but that was a quality point that you made.
No, yeah, it's absolutely fine. Just to add on to that, you know, I wouldn't sit here and lie and say I was the most mentally strong character growing up. I wasn't. You know, things outside of football can shape and change how you act and how you are. But I know that once I'd realised that it was something that I needed to work on, you know, I got together with my mum. And parents are so important in any journey of sport, because they're your pillars, they're your rocks, they're your foundation to potentially achieve whatever you can achieve. And without them, your level of achievement will never be as high if they're not 100% supportive and behind you and making you stick on the right path.
Definitely.
And that. But what we did is that we went through a lot of books and newspaper articles on the psychology side of the game. Reading an article about choking. I can't remember who the athlete was. The real top athlete that would get to a lot of finals but would never win. It might have been Andy Murray at the time. Thinking about it, about 10, 12 years ago, makes about sense in terms of the timeline. And just read into it, and the psychology coach that he'd gone to see, it is literally just the little 1%. Like being okay with being nervous for a game. I'm 28 and I still get nervous before games now. I'm always thinking, what if I do this wrong, or if I do that wrong? But it's just countering that and saying, do you know what, it's okay, and it's going to be okay, that you'll do your best, and if your best isn't good enough on the day, then so be it. That's how it is. You get up, and tomorrow's a new day, and never hold on to anything.
Again, amazing what you just said there. And for anyone listening, especially the parents, these two things that you've said there, Michael, which is fantastic. The first one, you're 28 years of age, and you know you're playing obviously at a very, very high level, and you still get nervous. And again, we deal with like 8, 9, 10-year-old kids who, you know, and the parents, and they think it's wrong to be nervous. So, you know, so guys, there's a 28-year-old professional goalkeeper still saying he's nervous before a game. You know, so and again, what you said is spot on, Michael. It's okay to be nervous. It's actually can actually be good, beneficial, because obviously if you go on to a game situation and you're just blasé and you're not nervous, you're probably more chance of conceding a goal. So that nerves obviously keeps you on your toes. And then so that was the first point. And the second point, what you said about the parents. Parents don't realise what a massive effect that they have on their children, either negative or positive. And that's why we're so keen with Just for Keepers to we educate as best we can the mums and dads, Michael, so they can basically protect their child. And it's all up here. We do something called like the 30-day challenge, and it's basically to help young goalkeepers and all goalkeepers to become bulletproof and become mentally stronger as a goalkeeper. And the majority of people, thankfully, that are booking on now are the parents to help their goalkeeping child. So parents, you know, so any parents listening, and I know a fact that there will be parents listening to this, Michael, listen to what Michael's just said. You probably don't realise what you know, big impact that you can have on your child. And also, while anyone listening, you know, if you want to ask Michael any questions, this is live. Fire away, ask Michael any questions, but you've got to make sure that you're doing it on the on the Facebook page, on the Just for Keepers goalkeeping main page, guys, because this is going across on loads of medias. I can only see it on one screen. So if anyone wants to ask Michael a question, fingers crossed they've done it right, Michael. You need to go to the Just for Keepers page. Okay, someone's put a question in now, so I'll come to that in a moment. But yeah, please carry on, Michael.
Yeah. So do you know what? I never finished my journey. So I got to the age of 21. I played maybe a season full at like step 6 of non-league, which was still only local. Played every game that year, was player of the year, picked up all the awards and done great. And I think a lot of people think that if you have a good season in football as you grow up, that clubs will instantly just come and say, come and play for us, because we think you're brilliant. And sometimes what you think of yourself and what others think of yourself are not on the same page. So I went off to uni. I thought I might have got an offer from somewhere. I didn't, so I went to uni. And in my first year, I just thought, you know, what local team on a high level could I put my name about and try and get in? And it was Hitchin, who had been about able in step 3, I think it is, of non-league. And weren't doing too bad, but it was my local team. So I thought, come back from uni, I can still work. Because in my head, I knew I was a good goalkeeper, and I knew that if the door was left open for me, that I'd burst through it. It wasn't a question of was I. It was just give me a chance to show that I'm good enough. And that's how it was. I went there. Pre-season, I was unbelievable. And the goalkeeper at the time was an international goalkeeper for Bermuda, I think, and was on trial at Woking, go full time. He was a very good goalkeeper. But he just couldn't live with me, and by the end of pre-season, I was the number one. And then unfortunately, being non-league, I went on holiday, off my place again. But then I got it back instantly because I was I just started on fire. And I'd say probably my biggest test mentally came in there so far in my career. I went for a patch in the winter where I just couldn't play. I was awful, absolutely awful. Week after week, was making big mistakes. And interestingly, I was still very novice in my understanding of goalkeeping, and I was wearing gloves that had barely any latex on the fingers, and just things like that you'd think would be so much common sense to not do that. But I didn't know how it worked properly. I was still kind of freestyling it, so that never crossed my mind to get consistently new pairs of gloves. And I think it climaxed in playing Weymouth at home in a league game. We were kind of bottom half of the table, and they were going for the title, and it rained all day. And I remember waking up thinking, I need this game to be called off because I just know it's going to go wrong. And that's where the mental strength comes in. And this is me at 23, 22, still knowing that I've got a long way to go mentally. And it did go wrong. Made a couple of mistakes for goals, and there was about 500 Weymouth fans behind the goal singing that the manager's going to get sacked in the morning, and it was a real horrible day. And I kind of took 24 hours of silence after that, not to say anything, and just have some time to think about like what was going on, and I vowed to myself that I'd never return to that stage, that I'd be stronger and I'd be better. Not just in terms of playing.
Sorry to interrupt you there, Michael, but I'm trying to think of an amazing motivational word that I've heard that it'll come to me in a second. But again, what you said there is fascinating. As I say, it's like where, you know, you knew that you were going to have a bad game. You know, whether that's it, whether you think you can or you think you can't. I think this was Dale Carnegie, like an American business owner in the 1900s or something like that. Or it might have been Henry Ford, who founded obviously the Ford Motor Car. And he said, if you think you can or if you think you can't, you're right. Yeah. So if you think you can't do something or you're going to have a bad game, you will have a bad game. Or you potentially, you know, you will have a bad game. So you're best thinking, look, I'm going to have a good game. So if you don't mind me just, again, nipping in. So what do you think made you think that you're going to have a bad game? And then how did you get out of that negative cycle of thinking?
Well, I would say it's definitely a bad mind frame, a bad mindset, and a real lack of confidence, which can happen. Happens every year to goalkeepers. It's not something that happens once and it never happens again. I think it is just learning you can only control the controllables, and that, you know, if you go out there and you give your best, it sounds so cliche, even at high level sport, but if you go out there and you give your best and you know you gave 100%, and some days you make mistakes, sometimes you won't, you can walk off and say, you know, yes, that could have been better and that could have been better, but I tried my best. I couldn't have tried any harder. It doesn't matter what level of sport.
It's about looking it's about looking in the mirror and looking in the mirror at the end of each game, isn't it? And saying, right, and because you know what, you can lie to anyone, but you can't lie to yourself in life, Michael. So if you look in the mirror and you ask yourself the question, look, did I give it 100% today? You know, you will know if you've not given it 100%. And I think just by, you know, again, what you were saying there, if that's a habit, you know, young or any goalkeepers, because obviously what you were saying there, Michael, again, is spot on. It's not just young goalkeepers that lose the confidence every single season. It's professional goalkeepers, it's international goalkeepers. But even something what you're saying there, then if you can just like look in the mirror after every game and go, did I give it 100%? Maybe not 95. And then the next game, did I give it 100% or maybe 98? The next game, did I give it 100%? Yeah, I did. The next game, did I give it 100%? Yeah, I did. And then that will obviously gradually get your mindset back into, obviously, you know, the positive thinking. And is that something similar that you did? Sorry, Michael?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Because I think in terms of in the game, I got into a habit of, if I come for a cross and I didn't get there, I'd stop coming. And that's you know what, I think the manager I've got now, he's brilliant at, if I come and do something and I don't do it right, but the next time that situation occurs and I go again to try and do the right thing, then he's more than happy, because it's character. It's character just to, if something doesn't go right, not to be afraid to go and do it again and potentially get it wrong again, because at the end of the day, it's still the right thing to do.
And again,
so yeah, always just, I think resilience is a really good one.
And if you don't mind me stopping you again, sorry, there's a bit of I think there's a bit of a delay between when we're speaking, so I do apologise, Michael. Again, honestly, so again, you've just gone on blasé about something there, Michael, right? Because you're just doing what you're doing. But what you've just said there is like super important. And a lot of goalkeepers, young and old, make the mistakes. Is when you said that if you come for a cross and you dropped it, the next cross that come over, you never went for it again. And so many goalkeepers done that. I did that when I played even at a professional level. And again, what you just said there again, you not realise what a golden nugget that is to any goalkeeper listening, is that when that other cross comes in again, even though that you've made a mistake, you've just got to go. You've got to go. You've got to forget your mistake and you just got to go again. It's about obviously getting that mindset right of always doing the right things, even if sometimes the wrong things happen. You know, so for, again, any goalkeepers listening, please listen to what Michael's just said there. Look, if you come for the cross and you drop it or you make a mistake, make sure you come out for that next one, because if you don't, you know, you'll end up, you know, it could be like minutes, hours, even games where you just end up being on your line. But again, what you've just said there, Michael, you make sure that you come out for the cross the next time. You're going to get over any mistake a lot faster. Again, sorry to interrupt, but that's such a super important thing that you said.
Yeah, no, just one thing to add on that, because I was watching a program with LeBron James the other day, and he said you should always be comfortable being in situations that you're not comfortable in. And I think that summarised it perfectly.
Again, yeah. I think what I always heard as well, Michael, as I say, like the difference between likes of, you know, playing at this level and this level, it's not sort of like the ability levels what you actually do on the field. It's actually how you how you maintain how you consistently play. So unfortunately, what a lot of people do who allow nerves and lack of confidence get to them, they're probably the same ability-wise. I'm going to name drop now. I remember I was fortunate enough to train alongside Neville Southall, the Welsh international, absolute legend in the game for 2 years. And he always used to say, said the difference with goalkeepers who were playing like in the 3rd or 4th division and like the Premiership, he said, was that final line. It was tiny. He said, but the difference is, the Premiership goalkeepers do the same ability-wise in goal, but they could just perform at the same consistent level and they could deal with the pressure more. Yeah. You know, and again, a lot of goalkeepers don't realise that. I mean, don't get me wrong, you have got those goalkeepers who are that like 1%, isn't it? They're just like on a different planet. But 99% of goalkeepers, once you get to a certain level, as a goalkeeper, most goalkeepers are more or less the same. It's just how you deal with that pressure. And if you learn to deal with that pressure, honestly, you'll get up there. So, don't know if that made sense.
Absolutely, no, it does. It does make a lot of sense because it's high pressured situations, and the higher up you go, the more money there is, and the more fans there are. And it's football, as I've always said, is 99% mental and 1% physical, and I believe that 100% with my heart till this day. And I was told that when I was about 12 years old. So yeah, it very much still sticks the same mentality.
Fantastic. Well, what I'm going to do now, if you don't mind, I'm going to take you back to your childhood. Again, I know that you've probably already explained bits and bobs already, but I'm going to ask the same questions again, and hope again, maybe just sort of explain in a different way, if that makes sense, Michael. So the first question I wanted to say to you: what actually drew you to playing in goal, and was this your choice, or was it circumstances that ended up in goal? I know that you did mention this in your introduction, but if you could just sort of fine line that again, if that makes sense.
Yeah, of course. So it definitely wasn't my choice. It was the coach's choice. Not that I didn't enjoy it, I did. But yeah, it was that one random school game where we didn't have a goalkeeper. And funnily enough, I've got a name now for saving penalties, and it went to a penalty shootout, and I saved 2 out of 5 when we went through. So where it all started, yeah.
Fantastic, brilliant. And then also as well, again, I know that you've touched on this as well, Michael, but I'm going to ask again, just obviously, just again, even if it's answered in a slightly different way, again, it will help people who are watching and listening. So when you first started playing in goal, I always call goalkeeping, and I think we've touched on this already, I call it like a character building position, because obviously, like you said before, and you were honest, it is actually hard playing in goal, especially as a youngster. So when you first started playing in goal, how did you cope with goalkeeping being so hard, and how did it build your character on the field and off the field, learning the position of goalkeeper, Michael?
So I would say I'm quite a vocal person anyway. So if you walk into a room, I'll be one of the loudest people, without doubt. Doesn't matter what room it is, I'll find something to shout about. So but that kind of lended itself to goalkeeping. Is that I know that when kids are a lot younger and they play in goal, they're not very vocal, and that's always been a problem in goalkeeping for the younger generation, is that they don't talk enough. Yes. So I think I'd say I was quite mature quite early, so I kind of realised just to control the controllables of what I could. So I knew I was fast, so I could sweep quite well. I liked to kick, very inconsistently, but I liked to kick. I liked to be loud. And I like to be centre of attention. So by being centre of attention, it was making saves and things like that. And in terms of learning, it was all very much on the go. Anything that I was picking up was literally as it happened. Because obviously the coaching wasn't the highest level. But I think that's where it's a lot of self-development. I think you see it now with keepers in academies and stuff, is that they're very much, they're raised like little professional footballers, and it was never like that back in the day. It wasn't taken to the level that it is now. Like, you've got like 8-year-olds with instant stages of football, and that's not how it was. Now there's good and bad to that. It's good because it's exposure, and it builds you a social platform, which is good to have carrying forward. But at the same time, it creates a false environment, because you're not a professional footballer, you're a kid.
Right. Yes.
And I think the first thing that you have to do is enjoy playing football, enjoy playing as a goalkeeper. Because if you don't do that, trust me, by the time you get to adulthood, and if you're not enjoying it, it's probably one of the worst places you could be. So my advice: find what you enjoy doing goalkeeping and use it as your motivation.
Again, super point, Michael. Now, I actually don't sell this book on the website. I give it away for free, so I'm not plugging any book on this chat here, this podcast. Sorry. So I've written a book called How to Become a Professional Goalkeeper, and it's basically just my story that me and my father, what I did to become a pro footballer, pro goalkeeper, but it's also to guide parents as well. Because don't get me wrong, it's obviously it sounds like I'm contradicting myself, but it is obviously good for youngsters to have professional training at these academies. Again, I'll say, like yourself, Michael, I never had that. But there's a fine line. You've got, as a parent, they've got to make sure that it's not taken too seriously, because what they don't realise is a lot of these coaches, a lot of ththese coaches are looking at an 8, 9, 10-year-old as an adult, and they're not. They're an 8, 9, 10-year-old, and sometimes what happens is, you don't want your child to grow up. Obviously, you want your child to have the training, but you don't want your child to grow up too fast and be too serious, because you started playing in goal when you were 14. You were never at an academy. That's similar to myself. I was never at an academy as a youngster, Michael. So for me, I'll be honest with you, I always say to most mums and dads, look, don't let your child, rightly or wrongly, don't let your child go to any academy until at least 14 years of age. Let them enjoy the game, because at 13, 14, most goalkeepers still don't know whether they want to be professional goalkeeper or not. It's the mums and dads sometimes that are pushing them. So I'd say, listen, let your goalkeeping child make their decision. Let them, like you said, the big word is enjoy themselves. That's so important. Enjoy themselves with the friends, with no pressure, because they could get to 13, 14 and go, you know what, I actually don't want to be a professional goalkeeper. And if they've been sort of forced into this bubble and being treated like an adult, for 4 or 5 years, I don't think that's personally very good. But it's difficult for parents trying to find the fine line, get their own coaching for the child. But like you said as well, it's got to be enjoyable. And for me, the best way to be enjoyable is just go and play with your friends on a Saturday and Sunday. So another really, really quality point. And something I actually want to lead on to. Sorry, Michael, you mentioned that you weren't at a professional academy. How did that affect you when you were looking at other goalkeepers? Did you think, I'm not at such and such is at an academy? And you're probably thinking, I'm just as good as them. But did you ever think, I've lost my chance because they're at an academy and I'm not?
Not really, no. I'm very self-confident. Although I have my doubts and my insecurities of goalkeeping, I'm also ultra confident, and will back myself against anyone in the room. So yeah, growing up, I knew I was potentially a few years behind in terms of other goalkeepers, but I knew that if given the right opportunity, which is never in your hands, as much as you can train and work hard, sometimes it isn't meant to you. But I knew if I was given the right opportunity, I could go as far as I wanted to. Unfortunately, it never really broke for me that way. I had to go the hard way, and I've come here through back routes rather than straight down one road. But I think maybe there was one time. It was I think I was 16, a GCSE year at school. We had a school game, and I knew I was being watched at the time, and I knew my name was out there, and I was having a really good year at school and also out at the football club I was at. And there was a scout there, so I won't say his name. He's a professional manager now in the National League, but at the time he was a scout for Brentford, and I knew he was there because he was right next to the corner flag of the side I was in goal for, and we conceded a goal. And to be fair, the team that I played for outside of school were quite good. We never really lost. And I come to school and it was a mixed bag. And we let a goal in, a long ball over the top, the defender let it bounce and the striker had run through and scored. And I just think subconsciously, me knowing that the scout was there, it kind of led to me being a bit more emotionally on edge, which obviously I've learned since then. It's good to play with emotion, but you can have too much sometimes.
Yes.
And we had an argument in the middle of the pitch, and the scout walked off, and I knew then that I'd blown a good opportunity there. And I remember my coach coming to me at half time, and he said, "You've just blown yourself a trial at Brentford." And
but do you know what? I'm going to stop you there as well. Sorry there, Michael, as well, because again, I've said this. Again, when I try and educate the mums and dads and the keepers in Just for Keepers, is that for me, that scout was wrong just to walk away, because again, for me, that shows a scout doesn't understand goalkeeping. And what a lot of people don't realise is that a lot of goalkeepers don't realise is a lot of scouts actually, don't actually understand goalkeeping unless it's like a proper specialised scout who's played in goal, knows all the knowledge, and obviously that type of scout knows. But obviously will know the goalkeeping game. But as I say, for myself, if that scout would have heard good things about yourself and they've seen something happen in a game, they should have known, okay, it's, for me, that says that maybe that scout didn't understand goalkeeping, because, you know, if it had been myself watching, for example, or, you know, a goalkeeper scout who knows what they're talking about, they're going, okay, it's a mistake. Let's see how Michael now gets on for the rest of the game. If that makes, because for me, as a goalkeeping coach or a goalkeeping scout, for me, I would have wanted to see how you would have reacted after letting a goal in and having an argument with your teammates. Did you go on to have a bad game, or did you go on to have a great game? I'd have been watching your character. But anyway, I just, you know, I'm a bit annoyed that he never give you an opportunity, Michael.
It's funny how football goes full circle, because he was manager of Stevenage at one point, and I went back in for a trial then, and he still didn't have me, so might have been personal.
Yeah, maybe. Well, a super question's just come in. I say, so I think I'm sort of doing this right. So what it is for you guys listening, ask the questions, because I know this is going live on about 9 platforms, and I can actually only see one platform here. So again, so please ask your questions, but please go to the main Just for Keepers Facebook page, and you get an opportunity live. You can ask Michael any goalkeeping question you want. We've just had one come in from Dave Johnson. Thanks, Dave. Michael, brilliant question. Says, what advice can you give young goalkeepers moving into a full size net? So obviously from mini goals into the big goals. What advice can you give, please, Michael?
I think it's very clear advice in that you are not going to save everything, and to not worry about trying to save everything. I think I was told a stat a couple of years ago that I think it's like 75% of goals that are conceded by goalkeepers are within their arm span of their body. So it's not so much that the goal's too big or anything like that, which in my view it is. I think they're changing the football period a lot, and goalkeepers are being left hung out to dry a little bit. But just control the controllables. Same as what I do at training every single time, every day, or when I make a mistake, I'll go back to the basics, just dealing with shots that are in and around your body. Watch videos, talk to people about potentially closing angles, where you can stand. Can you be more aggressive in your starting position? But I think genuinely the biggest thing is just accept that you're not going to save everything, and no goalkeeper in the world saves everything anyway, let alone a kid in a full-size adult goal. It's not going to work like that. Just control the controllables, work on closing the angles down, being aggressive as a goalkeeper, and just shots in and around the body. Focus on them 3 things. If you're beaten by a shot that goes inside the post or in the top corner, that can happen to anyone. Don't be too down about that. Just worry about what's in and around you, and you'll find more often than not that you'll be pretty sound, the goalkeeper in big goals.
Not amazing tip, that, Michael. Thank you. So I'm going into the next section now of the podcast, and what sort of these questions are going to sort of. So again, I say we're always about helping the next generation of goalkeepers and also goalkeepers that are still playing. But this is obviously sort of meant to help like the next generation. So one of the first question is who do you think is the best goalkeeper and you can say yourself as well, Michael. I know that you said you're super confident. So who do you think is the best goalkeeper in the world at present, and why? And what can young goalkeepers and old goalkeepers learn from this goalkeeper you think is the best in the world?
Genuinely, with no bias, I would say Alisson at Liverpool. I genuinely would. Obviously, I support Liverpool, so I do get to watch him play every week. But I just think he's the most perfect all-round goalkeeper. He's brilliant with his feet. He's very aggressive coming off his line, sweeping, coming for crosses. I think one-on-one, I've never seen a goalkeeper like him one-on-one. The way that his technique for one-on-ones is something that I've never seen before. But I think Neuer is close for Bayern Munich. I think he's very close. He's been the standard for probably the last 10 years. Yeah. But I think Alisson's gone past him, if I'm honest. I think Alisson plays for a team in a much harder league. exposed to a lot more situations than he should be because of how Liverpool play. It's so gung-ho. But yeah, I think every year on stats, he's preventing 10 goals every season, which is unheard of. It's remarkable. And he's got like 4 assists and a goal in the last 3 years.
And
better than some of Liverpool fielders.
He just looks super calm as well, doesn't he? You think, you know what? It's like, you know, they're chasing for the league, or they're in the Champions League, and you know, as I say, it's that the opposing teams coming towards him, the crowd's roaring, and he's just like super cool, and you don't sort of see any fear in his eyes, do you? Or even if like he's on edge, he's just like the Iceman from Top Gun.
He is. He's generally so calm and cool that is what can unsettle strikers, and that's what gives him a psychological edge. This is where I say it's 99% mental. He is so calm, and everyone trusts him so much that as a striker, when you're going through, I can only imagine that you think, well, how am I going to score?
Yeah.
I think of so many situations where he's been one-on-one, no one else around, and a striker has panicked and done something wild. And these aren't your average footballers; they're Premier League footballers who do this for thousands, hundreds of thousands of pounds, if not millions of pounds. Just the sheer calmness and presence of him being in the goal puts them off enough to make them do something silly.
But you've chosen an amazing goalkeeper. Also, if you had to pick 3 like skills or techniques or attributes a goalkeeper would now need to learn, obviously like crosses, distribution, etc., what would be the 3 main skills you think that a goalkeeper would need now to have a chance to achieve their dreams?
I would say at the moment the most important one is keeping the ball up the net. So that will never change, no matter what football evolves. Keep it out the net. Making saves is a good start. I would generally say the second one is distribution. You have to be comfortable with the ball on both feet to go to the real top level. It's changed now. You're almost another outfield player when you've got the ball for some teams. Don't get me wrong, not every team, but if you want to go to the top, then you've got to be comfortable with the ball on both feet, which is something that you have to work on. It's where I'm lucky because I had the background of playing on pitch, so I'm very comfortable with the ball, and I don't mind that. Very easy to have the ball back under any situation. But it's something that you need to work on just as much as you would keep keeping the ball out of the net, making saves.
Brilliant.
And then I would say the third one is close. It's close. It's either dealing with crosses, but I would probably say being vocal. Managers in the olden days, when I was growing up, even now, they're so big on communication. If you communicate as a goalkeeper, you will cut out 50% of any situations that you'll have to deal with, because the people in front of you will deal with them for you if you put them in the right place. As a goalkeeper, you've got the best view of the pitch. You can see everything evolve and develop in front of your eyes. So you need to be vocal and explain that to people that can't. And at the end of the day, they're there to defend you. So if you put them where you want them to, and you know your stuff,
Brilliant.
You'll be all right.
But you know, something that you just said there, Michael, so all the goalkeepers that I've interviewed, you're the only person, you're the only goalkeeper, sorry, Michael, in point 1 that you've said. I was like, oh God, yeah, it's so basic, but again, so important, is keep the ball out the net. Obviously make the saves. And I'm going to go back and name drop now. I'm going back when I was very fortunate to train alongside Neville Southall for 2 years when I was at Everton as a youngster. And I remember him getting interviewed, Michael, and the guy that was interviewing him saying, what's the best save that you've ever made in your life? And obviously, so they were expecting to say like top corner, and he went, every single save. You go, no. They must be, what's the most important save? He was like, but every save's important. And the interviewee was going, but even if someone hits it from 50 yards and it trickles to you, that's an important save. He goes, I've had to make the save. It's every save is important. It doesn't matter if it's a trickle or top corner. And as I say, and that's such simple advice, Michael. But if you keep the balls out the net and you keep clean sheet after clean sheet, you are going to get picked up by somebody.
Absolutely, and that's what it is. so overthought and technical now that you forget the most basic things, which is you just do your job. As a goalkeeper, your job is to keep the ball out the net by hook or crook. You use any part of your body to keep it out. And even if the rest of your game is not top level, if you keep the ball out the net, you'll tend to go far, and the rest can be worked on.
And you know what? And that's the point I wanted to say. You actually just said it better than me, Michael. It's like football is sort of getting technical, but as I say, sometimes a lot of people try to be too technical. They try and break it down. They overthink stuff, and when you overthink stuff, that's when you make mistakes. Keep it basic. Keep it out the net. Obviously, you still got to learn the right techniques, etc. But you say, yeah, keep it basic. Don't overthink it. Just keep the ball out the net. And you know what? Obviously, yeah, if the ball hits you in the face and you save it, obviously, ideally, you want to catch it. Don't obviously give anyone bad habits. But the point of what you said there as well, yeah, is don't overthink it. As goalkeepers, our job is to keep the ball out the net no matter what we do. And that's like what the Neville Southall said. You know what I mean? Every save's a great save, you know. So because you're in the right place. But no, brilliant. Honestly, no one's ever answered that like that, Michael. So thanks very much for that. So also as well, I know that you've touched on this before. Obviously, you said that at 28 years of age that you do get nervous before a game. So what tips can you give young and old goalkeepers? If because most are nervous and scared before the game. What tips can you give them to help them deal with those nerves before the game, please, Michael?
So a lot of it will depend on how old they are. A thing that I do is I tell myself what I'm good at. And I've got a friend that I went to university with, and what he did was every season that I've played for the last 4 or 5 years, he's got together 5-10 minute clips of my highlights of doing good things. And if I ever need a bit of reassurance, and my positive words aren't doing the job, well, then I will back that up with visual effects, visual positive impacts, which is watching me doing good things in high pressure situations. And it just reaffirms to yourself inside that, you can do this and this is you doing it. You've just got to now go and believe that you can do it again. And for me, that's just one basic way of doing it, is just be positive with yourself. And I touched on it earlier, being comfortable with giving 100%. And if you give 100% and you couldn't done anything more whilst you was out there, being content with that. Everyone strives for perfection in this world, no matter how old you are, whether you know you're doing it or not, everyone does it. And very rarely does anyone get to perfection. Hence, there's only 20 goalkeepers in the Premier League, not 150, because there's only certain spots and certain people can get a certain distance. So with that in mind, just be happy, enjoy it. I think as long as you enjoy it and you give 100%, you can't have any worries, because at the end of the day, we all play football because we enjoy it.
Well, again, another great tip there as well, Michael, and this is something we normally think that we've covered all angles to help goalkeepers and the parents of our students, but something that you've said, we've actually never mentioned this, and I think it's a fantastic tip. Where you were saying as well, obviously, your friends send you clips. So again, so just based on what you were saying there, I think if a parent or the goalkeeper can get someone to film the games, and maybe obviously when they're doing fantastic, when they're making great saves in the game, maybe go and watch that once or twice a week, even if it's like a collage of all their saves that they make as a goalkeeper. Because that reminds you, wow, I have got the ability to do that. Anything that you can do, obviously, and that's something I'm actually going to be putting into this 30-day challenge. So I'm going to steal it off you if you don't mind, Michael. I'm going to be advising now the goalkeepers and the parents to say, hey, listen, there's no excuse in this day and age. We've all got an iPhone or a smartphone, whatever they're called. Get someone to film you, obviously, making the saves. Obviously, the mistakes, have a look to see if you made the mistake. If you do make a mistake, sorry, obviously, so you can put it right, but obviously only put the positive saves on this positive, obviously, collage of saves, if that makes sense. And because for me, even if it only gives you that extra 0.1%, to help you with your confidence, you've got to take everything, Michael. So I'm gonna be stealing that off you, mate. I'm afraid. It was it.
I didn't give anything for parents. One thing that my dad used to do, is it in the car after a game, you know, and some kids might not be ready to talk about games straight after, but we'd sit in the car and would break down the game. He'd say what he thought I did well, and then he'd ask me what he thought I did well, and then would say, before he spoke, was what did I think I could do better if I was to play that again. And that works at any age, because kids are as honest as they come when you talk to them.
Yeah.
And, you know, sometimes the best, especially after a tough game, the best thing to do, it goes two ways, is either you need to have time to yourself, or you just need to get the feelings and the thoughts in your head out. Just get them out. Who better than to do that with than a parent? And I think that helps a lot mentally. It does. It relieves a lot of tension, a lot of stress, and it also makes you feel very comfortable as a kid. Especially it did with me, with kind of opening up and talking about your emotions and how things have affected you. You know, I made this mistake, and you know, you're beating yourself up, and then all of a sudden you talk about it, and then you break it down. What could you do better next time? And you're doing this with your parent, and it's a bond there which will help in that situation more than talking to a coach will as a child, or talking to a friend. That is, like I said at the start, your parents are your two pillars, and without them, there's no chance. You know, you hear a lot of professional footballers, the first people they thank are their mum and dad. It will be 99% the same for footballers, is that mum and dad's being there, not just so much buying them equipment and that kind of stuff. That's obviously needed because you're kids, but emotionally, it's massive. It's massive. Being there emotionally is huge.
Honestly, again, so for any parents who are obviously, you know, listening or watching, obviously what Michael's just said, it's an amazing point, and it's something that you should be doing with your goalkeeping child, or any child, you know. So Michael, no, honestly, that is an amazing tip for any parents to have a discussion with their child after the game, and that's the best time to do it as well, because it's fresh in your mind. You know, that's when you have made a mistake, it's fresh in your mind. You're feeling crap anyway, so you might as well speak about it right after the game, and then, okay, forget about it now. Next day is a new day. Let's move on. And that way, then you get you know, so it's because there's no point speaking about it 3 days later, because you're going to be bringing back a negative memory. So, like you said, they might do it right after the game, because you're feeling crap anyway as a goalkeeper. And as I say, you know, that way, then you can, like you said there, sorry, you know, you can, as a goalkeeper, say what you think you could have done better. Your parents say what they could have done better, and the most important thing is then you can forget about it, and then the tomorrow's a next day, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and just to add, sorry, definitely finish on a positive bit of feedback. Don't leave it on a negative. Always leave it a positive. Leave the conversation in good taste.
Brilliant. Right, I've got to ask this question, okay? Because no matter, I always get asked to ask these types of questions, because obviously every goalkeeper, we want to be a hero and save the penalties. Michael, and you've obviously already said that, you know, as a youngster, you saved the 2 penalties out of the 5. So how do you determine which way the penalty taker is going to take the penalty? And do you sort of like wait for them to take it and react, which obviously is very difficult to do? Or obviously, have you got an idea before they take it? Are you sort of taking like a calculated guess? How do you determine which way the penalty taker is going to take the kick?
So with penalties, you know, they're kind of happen very quickly. So I kind of try and use every second I can. I start off with a bit of delaying. You kind of, because obviously I used to play on pitch, I like to think it helps me judge a few things that I use as tools. Ball placement is one. A lot of people like to strike certain parts of the ball. Not so much the I can't think of what it's called, where you pump it up. Not the valve, not so much that for penalties, but they'll hit a logo, they'll point it towards, they'll point it towards where they want to kick it. So getting a look at where they place the ball, as soon as I put it down, I'll tend to come off my line and have a look. The angle of their run up, you know, if the ball's not giving me a clear sign, then the angle of their run up will help. So kind of as I go, as the penalty evolves, the stages of reaction time will get smaller. So you've got a lot of time to react to how the ball's placed.
Okay.
A little bit less time to how the run up is performed, the angle of that. And then if I've still got nothing, then it's planted foot. I'll leave it as late as them putting their plant foot down and where it's pointing or what angle it's facing, anything like that will give me a sign, then I'll go for it. And if I still got nothing, yeah, luck, it's either way. You're either going to be right or you're going to be wrong. And I think I go into penalties, a lot of keepers say there's no pressure. You can't lose when there's penalty shootouts. But for me, I'm someone that likes to put pressure on myself. I go to a penalty shootout, and if I don't save 2 out of 5, then I won't be happy walking away from it. And I think setting those high standards for myself make me perform well in penalties. I'm pretty sure last season I saved 50% of my penalties, if not slightly more. It was a good record throughout the year. And I think a lot of that is mentality. Having a knack for it helps, but yeah, definitely mentality definitely plays a big part in it.
Well, one of the things that I've never heard that before, what you said, Michael, which is absolutely brilliant, where you actually said as well that you actually even watch, because what a lot of goalkeepers do, and interestingly, where you were saying as well, is you start to judge which way the penalty is going to be taken as they're putting the ball down. A lot of goalkeepers, including myself, Michael, actually start to make that decision once they've actually the penalty taker has walked backwards and set and made their movement forwards. So, like you say, so your time is actually less. So that is again, I've never heard that before. So it's, against guys, if you listen to that, that's absolutely a super, super tip. Don't wait, as I say, for the penalty taker to put the ball down and walk backwards. You're actually, as I say, well, you actually doing it before that. You said you were watching the penalty taker, but again, just watching how they put the ball down. Did you get told that, Michael, or is that something that you developed yourself?
Something that I picked up myself. Just knowing that when I was taking one as an outfielder, I didn't want to give too much away, and what could I possibly give away? And I've missed and scored. Even goalkeeper, I've still taken him in cup games and missed and scored. And I just remember thinking, in hindsight, what would have given away the way I was going. And they're the things that I picked up. And another one is the eyes. But as you hear a lot, is don't go for the eyes. So you'll either look silly or you'll look great with that one. But that's one of the last minute ones. If I'm picking up nothing from the run up, from the angle of the run up, as they run up, you can look at their eyes. Sometimes they'll look where they're going. Sometimes they'll look where they're not going. But that to me is more 50-50. Body shape, angles, that sort of thing. I'm quite good with maths, so I kind of use that to my advantage. And this is what I mean when I say football is very technical and overthought now. But I think the one area I do agree to a certain extent is penalties, because I think they're very much a mentality game, and they are a little bit technical as well. But at the end of the day, the same rule applies. Keep the ball out of the net, and you're the hero.
Brilliant, fantastic. So we're coming to an end of the podcast now. So I've got a couple of questions to finish. But before, I always it's called this section is called the impossible goalkeeper facts. Okay, so obviously you sound a clever lad, but let's see. So I got these questions. It's an amazing website. It's actually called goalkeepersAreDifferent.com. And it's just like a load of facts about goalkeeping. You're like, wow, it's some amazing ones. So I'll pull one off for you to see if you can answer, Michael. As I say, let's see how good your goalkeeper knowledge is. The one that we did last time was actually from the goalkeepers from 1909. So it gives you an idea how far back some of these questions go. So the question is which international goalkeeper holds the men's record for international clean sheets with amazing 77 clean sheets? I think we've lost you. See if he comes back. So while Michael's froze, again, if you get an opportunity to, I think we've lost him, guys, unfortunately. But hopefully he'll come back. So as I say, Michael, there was honestly some really, really fantastic answers he was giving. Some of them, as I say, that tip to save penalties. I mean, again, I've always sort of told my students to watch the run up, etc. But Michael was saying like start off actually when the player puts the ball down, which is pretty cool. Okay, so if you get an opportunity, as I say, fingers crossed, Michael will come back on. But if you want to ask any questions, please fire away. So again, actually, if anyone's listening, okay, well, obviously while we've lost Michael, if anyone's listening, I bet you £1,000 his phone's died. So anyone's listening, does anyone know that question? Which international goalkeeper holds the men's record for international clean sheets? And we'll give Michael maybe another minute or so, and obviously we'll just finish this podcast and interview, which was a pity because, as I say, there was some amazing answers there from Michael. Okay. So again, I do apologise if you're asking questions, guys, and I'm not seeing you. I'm just going to go onto another platform. I don't think I've set everything up, unfortunately, the right way. Okay, nope. Okay, yeah. I can't. So I do apologise, guys, because I believe these other people asking questions, and obviously, unfortunately,
Michael Johnstone joined.
Sec. You okay, Michael?
Yeah, so my phone just overheated. I couldn't believe it.
No, don't worry. I did actually say I kept the interview going. I bet you his phone's died. What was it? But no, we won't appreciate you coming back on again. I know what you've done there. Actually, you've gone and Googled. you've turned the phone off. But you've gone and Googled that question, haven't you? Which goalkeeper? You still there? Okay, I've lost you again, Mike. Technology. So okay, we'll just give him a bit longer. He's obviously trying to get back on, guys. And again, I do apologise because apparently
Michael Johnstone joined.
Apparently, these people trying to ask questions, and I just can't see the platform it's coming on. You okay, Mike?
Yeah, what a crazy couple of minutes that was. Oh my God.
I was just saying there. I said, I bet you what he's done, guys. He's gone onto Google and gone, which international goalkeeper has kept the most clean sheets?
Oh God, I didn't even hear that question, to be fair, and I still wouldn't be able to answer it. God, what a question! Wow.
And he's actually and it's not as far back as 1909. It's actually he's only really retired the last few years.
Oh God, who's played a lot of games in goal?
From Europe.
Iker Casillas.
Yes, well done, mate.
There we go.
Yeah, fantastic, mate. Brilliant. So we've basically just got two more questions, and we'll finish off then, Michael. That's okay.
Of course.
The first thing is, if we can invent a time machine and you could go back and advise your younger self, at what age would you go back, and what advice would you give your young goalkeeping self?
I would definitely go back to me being probably 6 or 7, and just start as a goalkeeper. And I would say to myself to give it 100%. Don't have any regrets, which I do now. But just commit to football 100%, because the opportunities, if you commit to football, will open up much more than if you are half-hearted. You do get what you deserve in football. So yeah. Be 100% committed all of the time. Not be distracted, and be a goalkeeper. That's pretty much it.
Brilliant. And I think I've got a funny feeling it might be a similar answer. So any young goalkeeper now who's watching this podcast and interview, what advice would you give to any young goalkeeper, or even an older goalkeeper, if they're chasing their dreams and they want to become a professional goalkeeper, a semi-professional goalkeeper, maybe use their goalkeeping to gain a college scholarship, because we help a lot of goalkeepers get college scholarships in the United States. Michael, so what advice would you give any goalkeeper chasing their dreams?
100% never give up. If you don't believe, then no one else has the opportunity to believe. Only you can open up doors and pathways for success and for future fruits. I would say that, a lot of people work on just their weaknesses. I would encourage people to work on their strengths even more, because you want your strengths to be stronger than anyone else's. It's all good saying I'm good at this, so I will work on what I'm not good at. But you'll soon find that what you work on that you're not good at, you'll become not good at what you didn't work on, if that makes sense. So got there in the end, but yeah, just work on everything. Strengths are so important, and if your strengths shine, then your weaknesses don't look as bad. And every goalkeeper has weaknesses, but it's about being good enough to cover them and not leave yourself exposed to them weaknesses many times in a game.
Well, what an amazing tip to finish the podcast and interview, because how many times, and I've said this myself as a coach, Michael, to students, work on your weaknesses, and great tip, you got to work on your strengths. And like you just said at the very end, because your strengths, if you can make sure with your strengths that you can stand out above the goalkeepers, one, that's going to make you stand out above the goalkeepers, but two, your weaknesses don't seem as bad. So that's an amazing tip for any goalkeeper. So it leaves me to say, Michael, 1,000 thanks for taking the time to obviously speak to Just for Keepers, and obviously help fellow goalkeepers, young and old, and also parents. Honestly, you will not realise how much benefit what you've said here today is going to help so many goalkeepers, because obviously this is going to go live on our platform, and this will be live for years. So it's not just going to be goalkeepers and parents of goalkeepers that who've been listening today. It's going to be literally goalkeepers who are going to be watching this tomorrow and in 5, 6, 7, 8 years time. So I want to say a massive thank you for sharing your knowledge. Honestly, I'm a massive believer. Again, this is not, hopefully it just doesn't come across as arrogant. I'm a massive believer. The minute you think you know everything, it's time to quit. You know what I mean? Because as a goalkeeper, you're always learning. As a goalkeeping coach, you are always learning as well. And it's things that, most of the stuff that I hear, without sounding arrogant, I've been in goal since I was 8. I hear it time and time again, which is fine. Again, obviously, the way different people say it, Michael, you can take, you can take that information and obviously become a better person, better goalkeeping coach. But these things that you said on here today, which I was like, wow, okay, yeah, wow, can't believe I never thought of that. That's fantastic. So honestly, 1,000 thanks for, I say, one, being here, but two, just some amazing tips to help goalkeepers and parents.
No, of course, and anything I can do to help. Obviously, people can message me outside of this, and I'll always answer. I do. Funny enough, I do see one comment that I've not touched on about helping a 12-year-old with their goal kicking, which I can quickly give 10 seconds of advice for. Is that my kicking is still not consistent now, but what I did to work on it, because it was very poor growing up, in terms of consistency, is I shortened my run up. I just took 3 steps back, 1 to the left, and slowed down my run up and just focused on getting underneath the ball and kicking it straight. Go to training, get a bag of balls, go to a field. Kicking is the easiest thing to work on, because all you've got to do is find the grass. And just focus on striking, short run ups. Don't overcomplicate it, because if you go far back and you're sprinting up to the ball, you're gonna have no consistency in your strike. So yeah, shorten up the run up, take your time with it, focus on the strike, eyes on the ball, lean back, and you should all be good.
That's something we say, Michael. We say focus on the contact, get the contact right, and obviously as you grow older and stronger, and your technique gets better, you can kick further. Because a lot of goalkeepers, and we've probably made the same mistakes. You pardon the pun, but your goal is just to smash it as far as you can. But the thing to do is, to find out where your range is. So let's say you can comfortably kick to the halfway line, and then what you work on then is, okay, well, that's my limit. So let me focus on my technique, get your technique right, so you can consistently kick to the halfway line. Then once you get to that stage, you think, okay, now can I take it a yard past the halfway line, and then you gradually do it. The mistake most goalkeepers make is you just try and smash it as far as they can without any thought of what you're saying there. Just focus on striking the ball, and then the rest will just naturally come.
Yeah, exactly that it is. And with young lads, it's a patience game. You want to kick it. You watch from TV to kick it length of the pitch, and you want to be able to do that, but that's not how it works. Good things come to those who wait.
That's right, and they don't, obviously, you know, and especially when you're watching it on TV, you know, the equipment they're playing with, the pitch is perfect. They're in a stadium, you know, so there's not the winds. Obviously, you still get winds in the stadium, but not when you're out on a playing field and you're open to elements, you know, and you've got the wind blowing in your face at 400 miles an hour. So, you know, a lot of the professional players are playing with the best equipment on the best surface, and they're protected and away from the elements as well. So, you know, they get you've probably been there yourself, Michael, where you've gone to kick the ball on a field and the ball's rolling along the 6-yard line because with the wind, and you're trying, as a goalkeeper, you're trying to run, and you know, so again, so yeah, you got to be patient. And sometimes, you know, we can't do what professional goalkeepers do on TV, because they've got obviously all the elements, what we just said there. But Michael, again, 1,000 thanks for taking time, especially over Saturday. This will go live. This will be probably live on the podcast probably tomorrow or Monday. I'll stay at the end if you want to as well. We can have a quick chat to finish. But I'm going to finish the live stream now. And again, on behalf of everyone that's been listening, and on behalf of everyone that's going to be listening to this in years to come, 1,000 thanks, honestly. Michael's been amazing. I've really, really enjoyed it. Never mind the people watching, honestly, I've really enjoyed this myself. So 1,000 thanks.
Thank you. It's been my pleasure to come on as well, mate. Anytime.